Alrighty guys, what is up? Welcome back to Valheim with Lone Debater 7, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to beat the first boss, Eikthyr. So I've already beaten him with this character, however, we're going to use equipment that basically you can have before you beat him. So like this leather armor I have upgraded to level 2, you can have all armor to level 2, that's leather at least, before you fight this boss. And as you can see, I don't even have my helmet to level 2, so yeah, not a big deal. Really the only things I would suggest you have is a crude bow, either level 2 or level 3, and even a level 1 or version of that is fine. The more you level it, the more base damage your bow will do, so you're going to be using your bow for this fight, so having a good crude bow will help with that. I say crude bow because technically speaking, you're not going to have access to an axe that is able to chop down the birch trees in order to get a fine wood bow before this boss fight, so you would be using a crude bow. You can make flint or fire arrows. I'd suggest fire arrows. They do like 6 more damage than the flint arrows, and they look pretty cool. They set them on fire and such, so that's pretty dope. We've got 48 of them. They're fairly easy to make as well, so let me just show you that. So you take some feathers, you get that by shooting birds. You take some resin, you get that from chopping trees and killing the little gray homies that are around. I don't have any wood, never mind, we're not making arrows. You also need 8 wood, not a big deal, pretty easy to get that stuff. I just don't have any wood on me because I've been expanding the base. Anyway, let's go ahead and get the stuff we need to actually spawn the boss. So you need 2 deer trophies, and you're going to put them on your hotbar. This is how you're going to spawn the boss. I would suggest taking food with you just in case, but next thing you're going to do is go out into your world, disregard all this random stuff that I've added to my base, and we're going to kind of avoid stuff as far as fighting's concerned because I don't really need to fight any of that stuff. Granted, we do have this nice Stagbreaker hammer, which like wrecks the shit out of stuff, so like look at that, huge AoE damage type weapon. But yeah, that's a fun one. I built that with some core wood out of the Black Forest, but anyway, we're not going to use that. Let's pull out our bow. If we stop running, we'll pull out our bow. And the way you set your arrows, if you open up your inventory, you right click on the arrows that you want to use. So we're using fire arrows. That is all set and ready to go. Next, all we got to do is go over to this altar right here. So these spawn randomly in the world. You will have to search the meadows biome in order to find these. I found a couple of them, but you can just respawn. So it'll have a runestone. If you read it, it'll say hunt his kin, and that's just telling you hunt some deers. There's a deer on top, so use that. If you go over to the mystical altar on your hotbar with the 2 deer trophies, push the number, you make the sacrifice, it'll do this effect, and then the boss will spawn on in. I'm just going to go over where it's a little bit clearer, because it'll be easier to shoot him if we can actually like see him. But there we go, big ass dude. He's like a lightning guy, so just bear that in mind. This guy can be kind of tough, and honestly he's not that bad, all things considered. So he'll like charge you, he'll shoot some lightning. He also has like a big AoE shield thing that he does, and he'll just charge, so like that's his shield one. And granted, none of his attacks do that much damage. Like that was a 7 damage attack and he like stabbed us. I think that's about the average damage you'll take. The shield one might do a little bit more, but you can easily avoid him just by sprinting, jumping, and moving out from in front of his antlers. On the shield one, just get far away from him and you'll be fine. But yeah, not too bad. So you just kind of range him and DPS him down with your arrows. This is why I like the fire arrows, because it DOTs him. So as you can see, he's taking like a couple damage here and there because he's on fire, in addition to the base damage of the arrow. If you're using flint arrows, it's just going to do the base damage, and you won't get that damage over time. Now the only thing to keep in mind is if your stamina fully lowers, you won't be able to shoot arrows or run or jump. So just watch your stamina bar. Always make sure you have enough to get away, and you should have no problem with this fight, especially if you've got leather armor. Even if it's not fully upgraded, just leather armor in general should get you through this fight. You also need the bow. And you can do it with flint arrows. It's not that bad. I just like the fire arrow better, personally. So one more should get him. Boom. There we go. So that is the first boss. Taken down pretty easy. Didn't take too long. 2-minute fight. Not too bad. So yeah, not too bad. So what this guy drops is hard antler. He also drops a trophy. Once you get this trophy, you want to go back to your whatchamacallit, the like starting altar thing with this. If we look on our map, this thing right here, you want to go down to this and put that trophy on the deer tombstone, and that will allow you to go in and get the Eikthyr ability, this thing right here. It increases your stamina and stuff, so it is worth doing that. That is helpful if you're trying to get away from something or what have you. You can spam that and it reduces your stamina cooldown time and stamina use and stuff like that. But that is the first boss. Once you beat that boss, basically what your mission's going to be is go to the Black Forest and harvest some tin and copper, and also raid a couple dungeons to get Surtling cores. Now, the Dark Forest, or the Black Forest, is what it's going to be called on your map. We found it up here. It's up north, and there's copper and tin up north as well. I've already mined all the copper and tin that I need, at least for the time being. We'll show off how to get copper and tin in a later episode. The Surtling cores, basically, there will be like little temple-looking structures that have, it's basically a dungeon. So you go through this dungeon, and there will be a couple rooms with spawners per each dungeon, depending on how lucky you get. And if you clear out those spawners and get through the entire dungeon, you'll be able to get, you know, like between 2 and 10 Surtling cores, the average being about 4. So if you do about 2 dungeons, you should get enough to build the smelter and the forge and all that, so you'll be able to make the advancement into bronze weaponry and tools and stuff like that. So I've already kind of done this. I've gathered the materials I need to do that, so we'll show that off in the next episode, what you're going to do once you get your bronze. But not too bad. The Black Forest is not that bad of a place necessarily. There are a lot of mobs inside of here, and the dungeons can be a little bit sketchy if you don't know what you're doing. The other reason why you're going to go to the Black Forest is to unlock the next boss. So if you see this little marker, the Elder over here, so this guy right here, that is the next boss. Basically, by going through dungeons or just exploring the Black Forest, there will be a rune stone. It'll say mark the location of the Elder. If you do that, it will mark the location of this guy on your map. When we go over to that location, the second boss will be there. Once we defeat that boss, it'll unlock the next part of the game. So this is kind of the next step in progression. Go over to the Black Forest. Obviously, you know, your basic resources, so like deer hides, leather scraps, meat, wood, stone, all those things are still going to be important, even though we're kind of out of the early game now that we beat the first boss. All these beginning resources are still going to matter quite heavily to the like progression of your character and progression through the game and all that stuff. So even if you gather a bunch of resources from the Black Forest, so like I gathered 30 copper, 30 tin, and smelted all of it. Even though I gathered all of that, I know I'm gonna have to get more. Same with like leather scraps. I think I have like 7 or 8 of them left, which sounds like a lot, right? Well, you'll be surprised at how often you need more leather scraps, because you need it to craft tools that are more advanced. You also need it to upgrade those more advanced tools, as well as armor and stuff like that. Same with deer hide. So all of these basic materials that you're used to getting, you're still going to get even though you beat the first boss, but now you've unlocked more in your purview. So like at this point in the game for me, I've got metal. Like I can make bronze weapons, I can make copper weapons, I can make bronze armor, I can do all this really cool stuff. But yeah, you know, you have to go gather the resources and build all this stuff as well. It's not too bad, all things considered. So like this is our little forge area. So this is the latest addition to our base. So I built that in between sessions. That way I could kind of keep progressing off camera. That way I know what to talk about when I get to the video on what things stood out to me as I progress through the content, right? Anyway, guys, we took on the first boss, beat him today. We talked about what you're going to be doing after that. So in case it wasn't clear, go to the Black Forest, get 10 Surtling cores by going through dungeons, find an Elder marker, activate that and add the marker on your map. Also gather about 30 copper and 30 tin, smelt all of it into bars, and make a little bit of bronze, and you'll be caught up to where I am in the playthrough. In the next episode, we will be taking a look at the forge and charcoal kiln and tin and bronze and all of that kind of stuff and what we can make with it. So just stay tuned for that. And then after that, we'll probably take a look at going and gathering those resources, maybe fighting the Elder, maybe fighting some trolls, some other stuff, because there is a troll up north that I've run into a couple of times, and I'm kind of feeling if we gear up with some copper or some bronze stuff, we might be ready to take him on. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the episode, be sure to like, comment, subscribe as always, and until next time, this has been Low Debater 7, and we will see ya.